I'm Karen von Behrens, and our guest today is Dr. Jay Anderson, who is a plant pathologist. Jay has a Bachelor of Horticultural Science and a PhD in plant pathology from the University of Queensland, and she currently works as a senior lecturer at Southern Cross University. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you for having me along.
Could you explain in scientific terms how the plants actually feed the soil and that symbiotic relationship, and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when plants are growing, they're producing carbohydrates, and that carbohydrate goes to growing in the leaves, growing the fruit, gets accumulated in the stems as a future reserve, but the plant also then, leaks that resource into the soil. So it's using it to basically feed the environment around it. So there's a benefit to the plants. They haven't evolved just to waste carbon. They're actually doing that to recruit microbes around the root system and recruit a healthy network around the root system.
And have you done any work with cover cropping?
One of the benefits that I see as a plant pathologist of cover cropping is that you're providing a range of different carbons into the soil. You've got a range of different root systems. Then we're building a network which supports a range of different fungi, including our beneficials. There's beneficial nematodes in the soil as well.
What's a nematode exactly?
It's like a little microscopic worm, and the ones that growers might be aware of are things like root knot nematodes. So sometimes you might dig up your tomato plant and you can see galls on the root. There's also beneficial nematodes out there which eat the bad nematodes and contribute to a healthy soil ecosystem.
Excellent. And would you say, in terms of plant pathology, traditional farming systems do better than regenerative systems, or?
I think with the change towards regenerative systems, growers are looking at the farming system as more of a whole. There's a higher priority on the soil health, not just for suppression of disease, but for increasing of beneficials in the soil. I think there's a lot more understanding about the impacts of tillage and what they might do to the microbial networks in the soil. And there's a big thirst for knowledge because there's still a lot of things that we don't know. So we don't know in all situations what might happen.
Is there any advice you could give to farmers specifically? I guess it's tricky because obviously you have a whole raft of different crops and different situations, but I'm wondering, in terms of plant health, is there anything that applies across the board that would really help out any farmer regardless of what they're growing?
The advice I'd have to growers is to spend time in their crops and looking at the plants and seeing what's actually happening. That's one of the, I think, most important things, is observing what's happening and timeliness of activities. So with the example of really high humidity favouring disease, it might be a case of the minute you see a hollow developing in your orchard where water's not getting away, you need to get in and work out how to drain that away to prevent disease from starting to build up and go through the whole orchard.
Have you seen some particularly bad examples where that's happened and farmers have had their entire crops destroyed?
With the recent example of blueberry rust, where I've seen it particularly bad is on where trees are shaded by windbreaks. So I'm not saying to go in and cut out windbreaks. We're not at all advocating that. But it might be a case of getting in and looking at maybe taking those crop trees, the blueberry plants out, which are closest to the windbreak, because they're never going to have a good yield, and the blueberry rust is going to build up on those and then infect the rest of the block. Really good farmers are observing their crop and acting in a timely fashion.
Thank you so much for coming, Jay. If you're listening at home or on the tractor and you'd like to hear more of these kind of interviews, or if you've got a particular issue you'd like us to discuss, you can contact us on the Regenerative Agriculture Alliance email. That's raa@scu.edu.au, and just pop podcast in the subject field. You can also get more information on the Farming Together website. That's farmingtogether in one word, .com.au. There are a whole host of resources there which you might find helpful.